Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of College Football Under Review, our recap on the national championship and a little things here and there, at least my takeaways from the grand scope of this year's 12-team college football playoff. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. It helps us out, lets us know that you love the content we're making, and you want to be a part of the Under Review community. So the top headline, Indiana, they did it. They won it all. They beat Miami on a last chance drive where Carson Beck threw an absolutely abysmal garbage can of a throw with two Indiana defenders around the receiver for Indiana to clinch the national championship, their first in program history. If you don't believe it happened, just follow Kurt Cignetti's saying, Google me, I win. And when they did. And you know who else can win? You, if you go see Rob Abel at 30A Hot Tubs. Because 30A Hot Tubs is a family-owned and American-built business supplying Viking tubs that feature high-quality material and superior components, ensuring that every aspect of the hot tub is designed to last for years to come. When it comes to relaxation, recovery, and overall well-being, few things compare to the soothing experience of a high-quality hot tub. And for Rob Abel, it's all about helping people improve their health and quality of life. Whether you're an athlete looking for muscle recovery or someone who simply wants to unwind after a long day, soaking in a hot tub can provide numerous benefits. The ideal combination of warm water and hydrotherapy jets can ease tension and lower cortisol levels to help combat anxiety. A hot tub even promotes better blood flow, which leads to better muscle recovery, reduced soreness, and improved flexibility, combined with the overall cardiovascular health improvements. Even a nice nighttime soak can improve your sleep by relaxing the body and mind before bed. So if you're interested in experiencing the therapeutic benefits of a Viking spa, reach out to Rob Abel today. If you mention this ad to Rob, your journey to relaxation and wellness starts with a $200 discount off one spa, $600 for an order of two. 30A Hot Tubs, whether you're looking for relief from sore muscles, a way to enhance your fitness routine, or simply a place to relax with family and friends, Rob is here to help you find the perfect hot tub to fit your needs. Now, the national championship game, we're taking it under review. Indiana wins 27-21 against Miami. The U. I felt like my take on the game was completely flipped on its head. The first half was kind of boring. It was a punt fest. It was two giants figuring each other out where they're going to step next. Indiana had that 10-0 lead going into halftime. It felt like they were in control of the game. It was their game to lose. And it was Miami's game to reclaim and come back and make it a game. And I will give all the glory to Miami for making it a game. They were able to come back, and once they had that huge 57 rush for a touchdown, I thought, okay, this game's back to being open. I think Miami has a chance. Carson Beck looked a lot better. The Miami defense was still playing as good as they have the whole game. Their defense was able to hold up all the way to the fourth quarter, which I thought was very big since they had suffered some injuries against Ole Miss, so they weren't up to full health. But at the end of the day, the defense did what it should have done. Give Carson Beck one more chance to drive down the field and score the winning touchdown. But he was unable to get the touchdown, which led to their demise. I said that Carson Beck had to play a perfect game, and he almost did, except for the turnover that cost them the loss. I felt like Fernando Mendoza for Indiana. He had that dive, that 4th and 5 call, just diving over for the touchdown, and you see him just get hit. I felt like that was his Heisman moment after the Heisman. I never felt like there was a huge Heisman moment for him in the regular season that meant the gravitas or had the kind of illustrious depiction that this play had of him just putting his body on the line for Indiana. And it really just became, I felt like, the image from the national championship. overall, I felt like this game was a lot better than last year's national playoff game. I felt like this one definitely would reach the top 10 in the last 25 years, I would say. I definitely agree with that. But the first half was just not it. The second half had all the great parts in it. I felt like Indiana just played a more complete game. They were able to sustain longer drives, which is insane. They had so many, I think they had like 5 drives the whole season that were 14 plays or more, which is just an insane stat. But when we get down to the actual game stats, Indiana able to outdo Miami in third downs, converting 6 of 16 compared to Miami's 3 of 11. Miami was able to get more yards against Indiana, but Indiana just has not been that wow factor team. They more or less suffocate you, and that's what the game felt like this whole time, except Miami was able to stand with them. But Indiana felt like they were always going to score. They were always there. They were always still leading the charge and in charge of the momentum. And that really showed against their rushing. The Indiana rush got 131 in the game, and it was huge because this has been their bread and butter all season, was not a dominant rush game, but a rush game that is going to be there and pick up the passing offense and complement Fernando Mendoza, and it did that just perfectly. And it also helped them secure winning a dominant stat that I find is a big key to any of these games, and that is time of possession. They were able to get 36 minutes and 24 seconds compared to Miami's 23 minutes and 36 seconds, which is just huge when you think about who has the momentum and who is truly controlling the game and the game clock. When we look at some of the more of the stats that tell us how Indiana won, they were able to convert on all of their fourth downs. So was Miami, but Miami, it was kind of more of a desperate situation, and they had to get the fourth down. Indiana, they played Indiana football. Their stats when it came to penalty yards were great. They only had 5 for 38 yards compared to Miami's 7 for 60, which really hurt them. And Miami, their kicker, he just did not do great in this postseason. He missed the only opportunity he had for this game, while Indiana, they're 2 for 2. And the turnover margin went Indiana's way. That's what they do. That's how they win. And Miami was able to get a lot of pressure on Mendoza, but it wasn't enough as they only got 3 sacks on Mendoza. But you're facing up against the Heisman champion. I mean, come on. So overall, the game was great. I felt like this was deserving of a national championship game. It had all the bits and pieces that you wanted in a national championship game there. I just wish that the Carson Beck drive went all the way to the end zone. I felt like it would have made it a much more memorable game with the Indiana defense just stopping them in the red zone than a terrible pick by Carson Beck. But I guess that's been a tale of 2 seasons with these 2 programs. So what does this mean for Miami? Miami lost. Mario Cristobal, he didn't drop the ball. I think it was more or less Carson Beck's fault. But then again, it's his get-out-of-jail-free card. Mario Cristobal looks like the hero in this scenario. Mario Cristobal looks like the guy that is just has brought Miami back to relevance. The last 4 seasons, he's done a great job in trajectory going up and up and up, and it seems like he's going to continue that going if he can find the next Miami quarterback, because I think he has the potential to get one more great quarterback and elude to everyone that Miami is the quarterback school if you want to make money and make moments memorable back in Miami. This Mario Cristobal team, it was good. More or less forgettable, but their run was nothing short of great after they had all this controversy with Notre Dame surrounding them. I think they did a great job in shutting down those rumors, those talks, the debate. And I think Mario Cristobal has set himself up for success in the future at Miami. When we're looking at Carson Beck, he's going to go to the draft. He has no more eligibility, which is insane when you think that he was in the same quarterback class as CJ Stroud and Bryce Young, who are established quarterbacks in the NFL. Carson Beck will always be remembered as the quarterback that was great but not good enough. His record in college football was nothing short of great, getting over 35 wins and having around 7 or 6 losses. That's a great stat to have, but it doesn't count if you don't win the last game of the season. And this will be a forgotten Miami season because they did not win the last game of the season. But the play that Carson Beck was given was not bad. It was not a bad play at all. He made a bad read on the ball, and therefore Carson Beck made the mistake, not Mario Cristobal. And I think Mario Cristobal's job reputation going forward is completely intact. So that's Miami season. It's over. It's done. We'll see you next year. What does this mean for Indiana now? I think Curt Cignetti has now sent shockwaves across the country when it comes to coaching hires and athletic directors finding the next coach. He has shown everyone that all it takes is 2 years, a veteran roster, a culture to support that veteran roster, and NIL backing to achieve a national championship in 2 years. They said that it would take Saban about 4 years to do it. He was able to do it in 3 at Alabama in 2009. With NIL and transfer, Curt Cignetti has now been able to do it in 2 years, which is absolutely insane to think about. All these other coaches are going to be trying to figure out what's going on, and it could have a negative impact towards the minds of these athletic directors, because as we continue on in modern day sports, ring culture becomes such a rat poison in every institution, especially the ones that are always presumed to be playing at a high level or getting high recruits such as LSU, to fire the winningest head coach in college football and biting a $60 million buyout. So Curt Cignetti, he's shown everyone it is possible in this new era, and a lot more coaches might just be on the hot seat a little easier in the future. Now, Fernando Mendoza. He is now a household name in every Indiana fan's home. He not only won the Heisman, got Indiana their first undefeated season. He got them their first Big Ten title in 60 years. He also got them their first national championship, and he could potentially be the first overall pick if he goes to the Raiders. He has had a tremendous season. He has been one of the gleaming hopes of this college football season, to see him go from Cal, transfer here, and grow and be one of the more dominant quarterbacks this season. Fernando Mendoza highlights may not be crazy, but the man that he has presented himself as will be crazy, because it's going to be hard to replicate the season, the reputation, the love that all of these Indiana fans have for him. And Curt Cignetti is now also cemented in Indiana lore, but I think Fernando Mendoza will hold a much dearer heart because of the way he was able to work the media. Now, that is my whole thought on the national championship game. I've got a couple other takeaways from the season or the postseason that I want to discuss for a little bit. And then at the end of the episode, I'll explain what's going to happen for the rest of the off season. But I just want to make some notes on what I think we learned from this postseason in college football. First is we are seeing NIL affect the contenders for the playoffs. You may say, well, duh. But I think what's bigger for this season is we saw a lot more teams capable of being in the playoffs than, being a national championship contender compared to last season. Last season, it just felt like, oh, it's going to be these top three teams and then that have a shot. Everyone else is just going to get destroyed. It felt like the opposite this year. It felt like anyone could beat anyone outside of the group of 5 schools, but we'll get to that in a second. It felt like anyone could beat anyone out of these Power 4 schools. We saw that with Miami and Texas A&M, Miami and Ole Miss, Miami and Ohio State. Miami went on a huge tear, but also Oregon just beating up on Texas Tech, and then Indiana beating up on Oregon, Indiana beating up on Alabama, Alabama coming back from a 17-0 deficit against Oklahoma and winning that game. It all has leveled the playing field to a point where there's more teams that are capable of winning in the playoffs instead of winning it all. I think there are a few teams that will show up like Indiana in this future that will happen to be so dominant to win the national championship. So like I mentioned, the group of 5, I think the group of 5 is in a very bad spot after the 2 years in a row of bad losses. No group of 5 team has yet to make the game actually feel close in the postseason, which raises the big question on if they belong. Do they belong? Should they belong? The argument too only gains momentum that they shouldn't that they don't belong when we see so many other teams this year like BYU, Texas, Vanderbilt, and Utah, and Notre Dame, 5 teams that were all on the cusp and were all taken out because they did not win their conference championship game. One of those could have been in if, the group of 5 team was out. So what does that mean? It means you're going to have a large fan base make a lot of commotion in social media and anything else you want to talk about. At the end of the day, they have no control over it, but they are still going to whine and complain, and at least it will be used for reasoning and arguments when it comes to the people that make those decisions. Also, it just felt like, the group of 5, if they make it close, then it just has not been. They have not been close. They do not look like they belong. And so I think that they are in a very bad spot for their future competing with the top schools. So outside of the group of 5, one team that also does not look great, it's Notre Dame. Notre Dame fans came into this playoff whining, complaining, moaning, Miami, you put Miami in, we're so much better than them. Even though they beat us, we're still so much better than all these teams. Well, this debate blew up in their face when they beat Texas A&M, when they beat Ohio State, and when they went to the national championship game. Because this silenced all the Notre Dame haters until they said, oh, look, we almost beat Miami and they made it to the playoffs. We definitely should have made it in. Notre Dame has just made their whole, after what Miami did in their run to make it to the playoffs, they just made them look like a bunch of whining babies that they didn't get in. They didn't get their way. And it's going to affect them in their scheduling for the future for how they treated this and how they are reacting. It seems like no one wants to deal with Notre Dame. No one wants Notre Dame to be this cupcake Power 4 schedule team to get in every year because they have the ability to do so, and it needs to be checked. It needs to be resolved, and Notre Dame needs to be held accountable for it, or they will continue to do it. And it would have made it a lot worse if Miami won the national championship. And then the last one I really have about the postseason is when they discuss this new format, I think it's most likely we might see first round buys dissipated, gone, because Indiana is the only team right now in those 8 teams that have won a game after a first round bye. In the last 2 years, it's 1-7 win-loss ratio in total, which is just terrible. It's not good. It presents a disadvantage to the teams with buys, especially when you play someone like Oregon, who had a tune-up game against JMU and was able to do whatever they want, work out kinks, get ready, and play a scrimmage. Same thing with Ole Miss. It just did not feel the same. It felt like they had an edge, and I think that they're going to get rid of them in the future. So those were kind of the thoughts that I had about this playoff. Some things I think that from the regular season that I'll touch on a little bit, that just made the overall season better and road to the playoffs better are some of these things. I think, and just some overall takeaways that helped teams in the regular season or entities. And the first ones, the ACC saved their reputation with Miami making it to the national championship. ACC was in this huge debacle, not getting no one in their conference championship in. Miami barely got in. ACC was seen as this laughingstock. Maybe they're the worst team in this group of 4 or Power 4. And what they do, Miami went and competed for a national title, helped the ACC's legitimacy so much in competition-wise and what they can bring to the table, because it was not looking good for a second for the ACC. Another one is, I think NIL and transfer portals did more good than harm this season. The offseason, that's a whole nother beast. But I think the regular season gave us a lot of great players that wouldn't have been discovered or found somewhere that was better for them after they transferred out. Some of these, I mean, they have to be Trinidad Chambliss to Ole Miss. We never would have figured him out if there wasn't for the transfer portal and NIL. Diego Pavier, Mark Gronowski, and Fernando Mendoza. He went to a better school that fitted him better, and he won the Heisman. He probably would have been stuck at Cal, maybe not have been recognized. And this season, the NIL and transfer portal, it felt like it got a lot more right than it did wrong last season. And then overall, with the regular season too, it felt as if the upsets were a lot more than last season. But my caveat to this is maybe the AP poll was just very bad. Because there was all that controversy around week 5 to week 8 about the AP poll voters and do they even know what they're talking about? And of course they don't. It's the absolutely preposterous poll. But still, in their minds, there were more upsets than there have been since almost 2007, which is crazy when you think about that. And then I think the SEC and Big Ten feud continues on, because now the Big Ten has won the last 3 national championships. It used to be the SEC as the top dogs, but now we're seeing the shift. Nick Saban said it on the Pat McAfee show. The only reason these northern schools are doing better is because you can now pay players, because everyone loves the South. I think so. But I think that this feud is only going to get bigger and bigger after these 3 national championships and no SEC team in the national championship game these last 3 years. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a feud that continues on. So those are some of my regular season takeaways. Overall, I thought this was a great season, great up and downs. There was a lot of parity throughout the season. No one really knew what was going to happen fully until it came down to, I would say, week 10. We kind of knew who they were, but there's still a lot open and available. And then the postseason was a lot better than last year's. Last year's, I felt like, had a lot of boring games. This one had the games that we wanted, the matchups we wanted, and they provided us great content on the field. So where does Under Review go from here? The season's over. The college football 2025-26 season, it's in the books. For the show, you can expect us next weekend to put out a kind of recap or kind of fun episode of things we found on the season. We'll figure something out. But outside of that, you can expect maybe a video every month during the off season until we get to around May or June. I'll be doing different topics that go over this past season, over all college football topics, and topics for next season. You can expect those to not be more of a podcast form, but more of a true traditional YouTube video. So those will only be uploaded on my YouTube channel. So definitely subscribe to that if you listen on Spotify. But I'm Nick Watts. Thank all of you for tuning into this episode. And we'll see you next time when we take more college football under review.